In college, he turned a simple idea into a side hustle. Years later, he sold it for an eight-figure sum. But what made this dorm room hustle turn into a business success? Meet Henry Woodman. He turned a dorm room idea into a multi-million-dollar SaaS company. Today, he shares how resilience, a quest for a lost city, and navigating near bankruptcy shaped his journey to an eight-figure exit.
It did more than not was it gave me a little bit of mental fortitude. We didn't realize the challenges that we would face.
How does a search for a lost city lead to startup success and millions of dollars? In this episode, Henry takes us through the ups and downs, sharing actionable insights for building a tech company, even without a tech background. So can you take us back to the beginning? What inspired you as a teenager to embark on your incredible journey in search of a lost city in Honduras? And how has that adventure influenced your entrepreneurial path?
Wow. I don't know if it was my inspiration, more of my cajoling by my father, who had told my brother and I and a couple other of our teenage friends, there's this great adventure. You guys are going to go to the jungles and look for a lost city. And listen, at 16, you have this fantasies of something like an Indiana Jones. It's all fun and games, and you're going to find this lost city with riches and be famous on TV. And nothing could have been further from the truth. We ended up going to Honduras, obviously searching for this lost city, the Ciudad Blanca, as they called it. And we didn't realize the challenges that we would face. Primarily, it is not your cushy little suburban lifestyle that you had in South Florida. And what it did more than anything was give us a sense of gratitude and appreciation for the littlest of things. A bite of food, a drop of water, shelter, a roof, dryness, showers. All of the things that we tend to just take for granted now are the things that you also tend to ignore, right? The thing that it did more than not was it gave me a little bit of mental fortitude to realize that I had more stamina and I could overcome obstacles and pain and suffering that I didn't think I could previously.
So it was what kind of made you have the resilience to go into startups?
So I don't know if there's anything that made me go into startups as much as I would consider myself a hedonistic and an opportunistic entrepreneur, basically because I don't really feel like I'm cut out to work for somebody else, but I also realized I don't want to do something because, I'm going to do this because I can make a lot of money. I'm going to do it because I like it and I enjoy it, but there is also an opportunity that I think I can capitalize on. So those two elements, I think, served me well, basically looking at life and saying, what problem do I have that I can help solve or deal with? And is there an opportunity here?
Definitely. I think solving your own problem is it's more of a long-term thing that you can do rather than just choosing an opportunity that it's cool for everyone else, but you have to stick to it. And that's like the main thing.
Absolutely. I'll give you an example. I'm in college, right? As a sophomore, I'm sitting in a laundromat, one of those external laundromats. I have a pocket full of quarters. I have 2 hours. I don't want to crack the books. I'm addicted to Pac-Man. And I'm thinking, man, this place needs a video game. And as most people would say that, and then think somebody should do something, right? So I decided, let me go back to my dorm room. I called every laundromat in Tucson where I went to college and I asked them if they had video games. And of course they said no. Okay. So I asked them, would you like one? And a couple said yes. So I thought, okay, I'll share the revenue with you. Now, I had no money, obviously, so I took my school funds and I went to an auction and I bought these really horrible machines. But the idea was there was a hedonistic thing on my part. I'm going to play a video game because I don't want to study. And there was an opportunity. If you wanted to play a video game, you'd go to 7-Eleven or you'd go to a local mall that had an arcade. But at the end of the day, you wouldn't think you're sitting in a laundromat. You have 2 hours, got nothing to do. Okay, you got quarters. And if you don't have quarters, there's a dollar bill changer where you could get the quarters. So that was slap me in the face of opportunity.
So you came from like setting up video game machines and laundromats in college to bootstrapping a global tech platform. What were the key challenges that you faced in the early stages and how did you overcome them?
Wow. There's a ton of key challenges. At the end of the day, I think the biggest key challenge was education or lack thereof. I went to college and I was just having fun chasing women and drinking and not really concerned about studies. And for that matter, I wasn't studying business, legal, or accounting. That was not in my wheelhouse. And so as it progressed and here I am with an opportunity that there's a business there, I thought the imposter syndrome kicks in and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing, right? I need to understand how to set a business up. So in my mid 50s, I go back to college and I get my MBA in entrepreneurship. Somebody hands me a book called Traction by Gino Wickman. I read it and I'm like, oh my God, it makes so much sense now. People would tell you things like, you need to hire the best people. And I'm thinking, I can't even afford myself. You want me to hire the best, but I can't pay for that. And you need to get a culture. What does that mean? What's a vision? What's a KPI? I didn't even know what the KPI, key performance indicator, meant. All of those things are essentially laid out. So it dawned on me eventually as I went through a lot of mistakes that in order to scale and to grow, you need to understand what those basic fundamentals are, share them with the team, be it small, be it a mirror in yourself of where exactly you want to go. What's the mission? What's the vision? And what do we stand for? So those are the things that I think through a lot of trial and error helped me grow and also finding the opportunity and also finding myself fairly lucky. You create your luck, or you also surround yourself with a network of people that are inspirational and motivational as well.
Definitely. So it was like having to self-educate your way into entrepreneurship and also go into formal education to help with that as well.
Exactly. Exactly.
So having pioneered virtual reality 360 panoramic photography for travel, what emerging technologies do you see as game changers for non-tech founders looking to innovate in the travel and hospitality sectors?
Wow. The virtual reality was I'm sitting in Chile and that was another opportunity. The government went from a dictator with Pinochet to a democracy and they had a new television station. And I'm there and somebody hands me a CD-ROM with a virtual tour. And I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. Right. So I go out and I buy the second one-shot camera ever made to do this. So that again is an opportunity, not because I thought, well, this is great. It was just presented to me because I knew people and they handed it to me. So that said, and of course now anybody with a camera and a computer is a competitor. You also have to look at what barriers to entry or what moats can you create when you have a business. The greater the moat, the easier it is to essentially fend off competition. So what's coming down the pipeline? I have no idea, to be honest with you, but I do know, and it's beaten into your head that AI is going to be a game changer, not just for the development of tech and software, but for creating operational efficiencies. And because I coach many small businesses and I say, listen, if you're not using something with AI to help improve your business, your competitors will, and it's going to be a game changer. Figure it out.
Absolutely agree with that. With I think in terms of AI, there are two arguments right now, right? There's actually, yeah, there's one side they're saying that we're just gonna build like non-AI products because everyone is building AI products. And then there's the other side that you have to integrate AI. Like, where do you stand on this?
Yeah, I don't think building an AI product because it requires a lot of money and
Hmm.
obviously most people don't have that. And I think incorporating AI, now listen, if I were younger and I were hungrier, I would go out and set a consulting company and say, listen, I will talk to small businesses because there's a ton of them. And I will say, we will work with you to figure out what AI technologies we can integrate into your existing systems, right? Be it accounting or operations or customer support, what have you. And not only will we help identify what those technologies are, because there's a ton of them, we will integrate it with your systems and we will maintain it. And if things change, because they do every 5 minutes, we will update to a newer system, right? And that becomes an ongoing sort of fee payment. You pay monthly and we maintain stuff. Because as a small business owner, you don't know what's out there. And even if you do know what's out there, the effort to integrate and maintain and stay on top of this It's a full-time job.
Yeah, I love that. I've actually had a guest on the podcast who's doing something on automation and AI for small businesses, and I thought that was it's just such a
Yeah.
brilliant idea.
Yeah, there's so much you can automate, and there's a website called There's an AI for that, I think it is. And there are literally thousands of companies doing AI applications. So why would you build another one if you have a company that is already solving another problem and taking advantage of some opportunity? AI should, for the most part, most businesses should make your efficiencies easier. You should be able to operate with less money, less people. That's the goal.
Definitely, I completely agree. So, what advice would you give to non-tech founders on leveraging AI and digital marketing to scale their startups, especially when resources are limited?
Yeah. At the end of the day, I'm sure we're all going to make mistakes because that's part of the learning process. Don't go all in and find out that it was the wrong thing. I think the advice is really do your research and find people that are in the know. I founded a tech company and I couldn't write a line of code if you put a gun to my head. So it's surround yourself with people in the know and make sure that they're clear, like you are, if you are, on the vision. Here's what we're doing, where we're going, and why.
So, you're a non-technical founder yourself.
Very much.
Awesome.
Yeah. You kidding me?
In your journey from producing travel films to developing a hit game show in Chile, what were some of the most surprising insights you gained about the media industry and audience engagements?
Well, media industry is my hedonistic. It's a passion. Obviously, the reality is the successes and the money was made in technology in a SaaS company. But the things I learned in media is most people, especially now, because the opportunity is there's a ton of need for content with all the new streamers and the availability for people, be it YouTube to Netflix and everywhere in between. There are tons of people with, let's say, cameras on the phone and a computer, and they're a production company, right? So that's the good news. The bad news is there's no barrier to entry anymore. So the reality is you do it for a passion because it's maybe the 1% that's making enough money to have a sustainable existence. So if you can find something that solves a problem, and I'm not saying, oh, look, AI is going to be doing films soon, but soon you're going to see AI produced entirely films, not just the writing, but also the development and the production and the post-production and stuff. So I would say if it's a hobby and it's something and a passion, you do it and worry less about the money, but you still have to find a way to survive.
So, tech pitfalls can be daunting for founders without a technical background. What are some common mistakes you've seen non tech founders make, and how can you avoid them?
I've made all of those mistakes. I've been on the verge of bankruptcy multiple times. I didn't know what I was doing. It took me years to figure it out. I don't know if it's a mistake, but I think one of the biggest challenges was that I would freak out and lose sleep and think the world was coming to an end and I was going to die because of every little problem. It's like the paradox, the difference between drowning and swimming is fairly minimal from a, here, just move your hands around in motion like this and you'll stay alive, as opposed to you get thrown in the water in your arms and you're mentally and physically exhausted. You think you're going to die as opposed to taking the time and swimming. And it takes time. It's the same thing with business. You can't just say, listen, here's what you need to do. You need to relax. Oh yeah, easier said than done, right? It's very hard when your life and your money and your livelihood is on the line. So I think the best thing to do is take a step back and try to figure out how we're going to create foundationally a good sort of structure to build, right? And that is, what exactly is our vision? Okay. Is it clearly solving a problem? Is there an opportunity here that people need this and not just say, look, I love clothing. I'm going to put another boutique store in downtown Main Street. But we know where we're going. And then we surround ourselves with smart people that clearly see what we see and are in all the way, as opposed to just punching a clock and showing up and saying, I need my paycheck and my benefits and then leaving. So those elements you learn over time. But if you can say, get a vision, where are we going? How are we going to do it? Get some KPIs to know that we're progressing and surround yourself with people that are a cultural fit, that feel the same way you do and have the same sort of ideals.
So, how did you find people who were a cultural fit for your startup?
There's A lot of trial and error, but eventually when you talk to people, there's a book called Who as well that identifies the hiring process. You learn along the way what it is that your values are, because mostly the culture is your values, right? And so do they fit your values? And do they have the same passion that you do? And if they do, then they're a good hire. Listen, early on, I got pretty lucky that a lot of people believed in it and I believed in them. And I told them, I know I'm underpaying you, so I'm going to give you some phantom stock in the company so that if when we sell, you will benefit, right? You're not going to see anything in the short run, but if you believe in this and you believe in where we're going, then we will all win. So I think you got to find people that are aligned with your mindset and that buy into that vision.
Yeah, they agree. So, as someone who has sold a successful tech platform for 8 figures, what are your strategies for negotiating deals and ensuring your company's vision aligns with that of potential buyers?
Yeah. I'll give you the story to tell. There was not a lot of negotiation because I was in a good position, but negotiating with buyers or any negotiation really is a matter of planting a lot of seeds and hoping that they start to grow. And then when they start to grow, nurturing them. You don't just plant a seed and don't water it. And once it's growing, you don't leave it alone and go, okay, it's growing and I'm out of here. This is the same like support. Your customers need to know that you care and you're there for them and they are number one. It's all about them, right? On the sale of the company, I had this number on my mirror for a decade. And several people approached me and I said, listen, I'm always open, but I don't think I'm there yet because I need to be at this revenue because I need this multiplier to get to that number, right? And of course, finally somebody came and they said, what's your number? And I told them and they left. And a month later, they called and they said, can we meet? They flew in the CFO and the COO. It's a big multi-billion dollar company. And they threw out all these numbers. And I said, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm making good money. I don't have a boss. I don't have a board. I don't have any debt. I sleep well at night. Why would I sell the company unless I get my number? And I told them, I said, you will overpay today for something you will underpay for tomorrow. And I truly believe that. And I shut up. And because I was in a position of strength and there wasn't a need to sell the company, they looked at each other, must have been 10 or 15 seconds, but it felt like 2 minutes. And they just looked at me and they go, fine, you got a deal. So without an investment banker, 60 days later, the attorneys got the sale agreement in and the money was in the bank. So I was very lucky. It was the right place and the right time. And I was arrogantly believing that I was worth more. This was a year before COVID. And keep in mind, my tech company was in hospitality. Many of our clients like Wyndham and Hilton and Hyatt and these massive international companies, they were hurting.
So, mainly you had to be in a strong enough position to be able to negotiate a good deal. So, it was mainly that rather than negotiating itself.
Correct. At the end of the day, when you look at how you're going to exit, there's always some belief, if you want, that you're going to exit. The question is, who is an exit? What's the exit strategy? Who and a strategic partner is generally the best bet, right? This was a strategic partner or a strategic buyer. And so they would pay a premium because it fits and adds more value to their offering. So when you look at the world, it's do I go to either an IPO, which is a bigger pain in the butt, or a private equity or a strategic partner? Those are all questions that you would pay. In my opinion, the highest multiple will probably come from a strategic partner that knows what the value of what they're buying is. And if you're already doing well, you're profitable, you're well known, you have established clientele. I was a SaaS company, so it was hard for the hotel groups to uncouple themselves. So it was pretty solid revenue and we were in a good position. We were advantageous position.
Am I allowed to ask what the number is?
You're allowed to ask. I won't stop you from that, but I have an NDA.
Oh, okay,
It
okay.
was 20 times EBITDA and we were doing really well.
So, would you say having that clear goal on your mirror, it helps?
Absolutely. It's like anything. It's your vision is where do you want to go? And the same thing with the numbers. And the number was there for a reason. It wasn't just I pulled it out of the air. I looked at my life and I said, okay, to live comfortably for the rest of my life without ever having to worry about money, what is the number? Right. So I put that number down. And then I doubled it because you never know what stupidity lies and taxes and all kinds of things. So that was the number. It was like the minimum I need to live comfortably for the rest of my life and double that. Right. And ironically, the money makes more money. So it surprised
So
me too.
you put you put the number there on your first day, or which day of your startup did you have the number?
Yeah, I think it was probably a couple of years in when I realized that we can make a go of it because early on we started producing virtual tours and then they'd say, oh, this is great. How do we get it on this new World Wide Web thingy? And we're like, I don't know, send them a CD-ROM. And then eventually we'd realize we can link to the travel sites. And then when we realized that, we then found that's a nice to have a virtual tour. The need to have is photos. And early on, photos were not included in the rate and availability machines. You can say, is that hotel available on that date? Yes. And what's the rate? Okay. Where's the photo? Those systems never had photos, right? This was pre-internet. So the ability to deliver the photos with the right specs and sizes and categories was really important. And the hotel groups needed control over their intellectual property and their formatting. So that was a problem early on, which we saw the opportunity for the nice to have, right? So at the end of the day, it was a couple of years into getting some traction and there were a lot of bumps in the road and near bankruptcies that we realized, okay, so we're moving along. What can this do? Where can I go with this?
So, how does your trilingual ability enhance your approach to international business? And what cultural insights have you gained that influence your leadership style?
Obviously, the languages help because I used to do travel films and I produced game shows in Chile and I live in South Florida where pretty much everybody speaks Spanish. So that helped. And also with my hospitality company, we had clients in Europe and Accor, for example, was one of our clients and they're a French company and I speak French. So French and Spanish and English served me. Thank you to my mom because I didn't really want to learn anything as a kid. I was always rebellious. It helped a lot. From a culture perspective, I think that you develop things as you grow from friends, family, parents, and stuff, and you realize, what you value, whether it's money or whether it's family or whether it's happiness or peace of mind. And everything has its own cost. So you don't just sit there and go, listen, I'm going to make money to the exclusion of everything else. Yeah, but you might be miserable because you've left behind your family or they've left you and you're feeling shallow because money doesn't buy you those other things. So depending on what's important to you, follow those cultural dreams.
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, I've been reading and they say that having bad values can really ruin your life. If your value is become a billionaire by 30 and you don't, that could make you incredibly miserable.
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, the money part is very important to buy freedom, but there's a
Yeah.
limit, if you will. So after a certain number, you don't need to be a billionaire. Really? Do you need private jets and yachts and stuff to be happy? Probably not. You can fly first class and you can fly and live and stay in nice hotels. But at the end of the day, if you're doing that for what? And generally it's a lot of an insecurity to make up for, I got to prove that I'm the best or that I this. Okay. Yeah. But at what expense? We all know the psychology that many of the people who are doing really well, some of them are looking back and going, God, I gave up so much. If I'd have gone back, I would have done it differently. I would have spent more time with family or harnessed some of those relationships.
Yeah, definitely. On a personal note, how has fulfilling your dream to produce a TV series based on your father's book impacted your understanding of storytelling and its power to connect with audiences on a deeper level?
Wow. That's a deep question. Storytelling is important. We are humans and that's what we do. And even in the simplest form, sales is storytelling, right? I'm going to tell you a story about how I solved your problems, right? So from this perspective, the story is it's a great story. It's about a guy who finds his soulmate. The only problem is she died 70 years earlier, right? Then he finds that soulmate reincarnated. And so that's a story about love and also this world of, is this all there is? Or does reincarnation exist? Or are there metaverse? Is there another me somewhere else? Or does karma exist? And do I pay for sins of my father? So a lot of these things are touched upon. The book is called The Reincarnation of Marie, and it's based on an actual person, Marie Barstreseff. She was a author and artist that died at 24, but between 14 and 24, she wrote a journal. And she wrote about things that women in the late 1800s did not talk about. And that was sexuality and femininity and masturbation and things. And of course, after her death, it becomes an international bestseller. So now fast forward 70 years later, guy picks up the book and he's, man, I'm fascinated. This woman's amazing. And he falls in love with her through her writing, only to realize it is absolutely crazy that I've fallen in love with a woman and my God, she's dead. So the concept behind the series is to do a much deeper dive and say, how are people in our current lives connected and intertwined with other past lives, be it our soulmate or be it that we're paying back karma for things that we did then, good or bad. And those are the questions that are present in human existence.
Definitely. I think they're very important questions because I come from like a Buddhist culture myself. In Thailand, there's a lot of talk about reincarnation, karma. These are very familiar themes to me. And yeah, I think it's very fascinating.
Sure. We don't answer the questions, but obviously we introduce those concepts in a very unique way. Does a soulmate exist? And if it does, there's also the question that we ask of love and hate being two sides of the same coin. Is your soulmate somebody that you every lifetime meet, or do you have differences in like ships passing the night, or do you have confrontation and then you have to get payback or something like that in the next life? Who knows?
What knows?
Right? Be nice if we
Yeah,
did. Boy,
definitely.
we could change the world if we had those answers.
That's why we need to have good karma, do good things so that good things happen to us.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I believe not in the we show good karma because think that the insta karma, but I feel very fortunate and lucky. And I'm thinking, boy, I've done some things right in the previous lives, or maybe in another life, I learn what it's like to be on the other side. That's scary. I don't know if like the Buddhist tradition, you continually grow to attain greater heights. That would be nice.
Depends. It depends on your actions. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll let you know in my next life.
Sure, we can talk again on my podcast in my next life as
Bring
well.
it on. Bring it on. Yeah.
So, looking back at your diverse career from tech entrepreneurship to media production, what personal achievements are you most proud of? And how do they reflect your evolution as a visionary entrepreneur?
Wow. Guessing the personal achievements was actually following through when, and it's with everything. When I start things, I'm fairly tenacious. I don't like to quit. Now, obviously, I've pivoted many times, but when I find things that I think I can do and adversity, obviously, there are hurdles that come along and adversity slaps you in the face. Instead of quitting and saying, oh, that's it, it's too hard. Let's find a way around it and let's grow from it. So I think the thing that I'm most proud of is having grown and sold my previous company, Ice Portal. And now I think the final is that I have the ability and the freedom to publish the book, the Reincarnation of Marie, and then from that springboard off and do a TV series that does a deeper dive into that concept.
Awesome. I think it's a very exciting career journey for you.
It's one of those things, and I've talked to a producer and he goes, I'm doing okay, but you did it right. You went and built a tech company and made a little money, and now you don't have to stress about every single, because productions are, even as a producer, there's beginnings, middles, and an end. So if you make decent money on one product, on one production, are you going to be in business a year or two from now? Is there another one down the road? So you don't really know. But if you say, listen, like I now have this thing that I want to develop. Hey, I got plenty of time. It's not like I've got to sell this in order to make some money. I'm going to take it and do it right. So I think that this is now more of a passion and purpose. When people say, oh, I want to retire and just do nothing or sit on the beach, I'm like, okay, yeah, that'll last for 2 minutes or maybe 2 weeks. But at the end of the day, most entrepreneurs have ADD and they've got to do things. If there's something that you're passionate about and you have some purpose and you can afford to do it because you have financial freedom, that's when you can do it. Sometimes people that I got to be a musician or I got to be an artist or I got to be an actor, it's tough because the statistics, only 1% are making enough money to survive, really. You put it into perspective. I guess it's the same thing with entrepreneurship. We know the statistics about the failure rates. The people who succeed are the ones that clearly understand that one, they're solving a problem. Two, they have a structural foundation where they've got processes and procedures in place. And three, I like to say that there's a couple of things that if you're standing on the corner of prepared and lucky, you might see opportunity come by. Because if you're prepared and you're not lucky, you may never see opportunity. If you're lucky and you're not prepared, you may never see opportunity. But the best way to get that opportunity is to prepare well, right? And to be lucky. Because most people go, oh, I'm the smartest person in the room. Yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah, you got to be lucky in most parts. And finally, surround yourself with people that are motivational and inspirational for you. That adage, you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with. That's true.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like creating your own luck by being around other people who have a similar mindset and a drive as
Absolutely.
well. Thank you so much, Henry, today for sharing all of your insights and expertise. I'm sure our audience will appreciate it.
I like it. If there's anything, you can find me on the website and there's my LinkedIn and my Facebook and stuff. I think you might have it, but it's mariathestory.com. Reach out. If I can help you in any way, let me know.